a whole other subject really, but I would massively reduce the number of marches that are allowed to go ahead on the basis that they're unfair on everyone else.
I mean, yeah, they are a pain, but we happen to choose to live in the capital city, which is where the seat of parliament is, which is why people protest here. So
I mean, my biggest concern is that banning something can just make it more appealing to people. We're so instinctively divided as human beings.
Well, my concern is that we ban this because we don't agree with it, and then suddenly you want to march for some reason, and that's banned because somebody else doesn't agree with it. And you can say, yes, but I'm righteous and I'm right, and this is the right thing to march about, and they'll go, well, we thought ours was too. So that's my concern.
I want to make a distinction on the basis of whether you're supporting a movement that actively kills lots of people. Most people who are marching are not marching to support a movement that actively kills lots of people, so maybe you could make some kind of dividing line on that basis.
Well, the law makes that dividing line. The law will say that if there's any signage there that says, death to Jews, that would be a criminal act, then they will be arrested. If there is something, freedom of speech comes with responsibilities, and that is you cannot incite violence or hatred. So if you're saying death to Jews, that's inciting violence, right? So you wouldn't be allowed to hold that.
The police would need to spend their time checking everyone's placards when the police should be stopping rapists and burglars. It's just depressing, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I know, but the right to march and the right to the freedom of speech is worth the police time. It is something that the public should demand, and also for them to police it correctly and make sure that if somebody is breaking the law in terms of hate speech or in terms of violent speech, then they are rightly arrested for it.
I guess I'm wondering, and it's not a subject I've looked into enough, counter-terrorism, policing and such like, but I wonder if there needs to be more done actually to be cracking down on the clerics at source, rather than necessarily focusing on people who march around with placards. You need to be kind of, occasionally I read some news articles about how there are certain people who have been just allowed to go on preaching this nonsense in various mosques around the country, and how there are certain camps for children in certain places. I think that there probably needs to be more done to stamp that out. But it's going to be an ongoing battle. Evil is an ongoing problem.
Yeah, I would agree, but again, it's about the freedom of religion and the freedom of speech, and how far do we curtail that, and at what cost do we curtail that? Although I entirely agree with you. I mean, that's the thing. I battle with myself on this.
I guess, again, like I said, I'd say that the dividing line can be about willing the deaths of other people in the way that some of these...
Yeah, inciting violence and hatred.
Yeah, I mean, you could allow them to say some other things that you might disagree with, but when they're saying that people should be killed for being Jewish or anything else, then that should be a point at which these people are locked up and deplatformed, and it seems that hasn't been happening enough.
Well, that is the law. It's the police have just not been following through with it, and particularly with some marches as opposed to other marches. They don't seem to want to get involved, maybe for fear of looking racist or for fear of looking whatever, but the law is the law, and it applies to all of us equally. So if any of these protesters are glorifying death or calling death upon a group of people, then that would be breaking the law, and they would have to be dealt with in that respect. Grace, great to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Mark has said, let's let them keep killing all their citizens, Petri. I wasn't for a moment suggesting that be the case. If you were listening, Mark, you would have heard quite clearly me saying that this regime is absolutely one of the most disgusting in the world. You've been indoctrinated at university, it's obvious to see. Is it? Islam is the disease that threatens the West, and it must be eradicated. Bad news to you, though, Mark, I didn't go to university. Back in a sec. Regime that is taking place on March the 15th here in London. I said London, didn't I? Anyway, that's going to be happening here, and a lot of people are calling for it to be banned. because of fears of inflaming tensions and providing a platform for extremism. It's the Al-Quds protest held in London during Ramadan and forms part of an international day of demonstrations established in 1979 by Ayatollah Khomeini, intended to mobilise opposition to Israel and support Palestinians. But we know that it turns into something else. So should they be banned? Given what's going on in the world at the moment, Sammy said, "Hi Petri, sorry I've been away for a week." God, you're not allowed to go away for a week and take me with you. It's called radio. Anyway, does freedom of speech exist anymore realistically? I'm not sure it does, and if it doesn't exist for one person, it can't exist for any person. And I think that's a very smart thing to say, actually, that if it doesn't exist for hateful people, it doesn't exist for non-hateful people, because it's freedom of saying what you want, providing you don't incite violence or hatred. And then Sari says, would we be able to protest against Starmer in Iran? I think we probably would. You'd definitely be allowed to protest against Donald Trump. I'm sure that there's, they're burning American flags and shouting death to America, which wouldn't be allowed in this country, but is probably allowed in Iran. They wouldn't even know who Keir Starmer was. Like, who? Who? Why are you protesting? Well, who is he? Same question we ask ourselves in this country quite often. Gary says, yes, pro-Iran marches should be banned. I'm surprised at you, Gary. I mean, it's interesting, and I like your reasons for it. He says, since the 1979 Islamic Revolution, Iran has been the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism as its main tool to build, arm, train and fund Islamist proxy networks, including Al-Qaeda, Hezbollah, Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad and the Houthis. There should be no place in the UK for these protests for terrorists, and that's Gary in Glasgow. I know, and my heart tells me you're absolutely right, that there absolutely is no place for that in this country. But it is in this country, and we'd be better getting rid of it than trying to ban people on the street. I don't know whether banning would send it underground. I don't know. I mean, my heart tells me you're absolutely right, but my head says that freedom of speech is freedom of speech. And as long as you don't cross the line, whatever you say, as reprehensible and disgusting as we might think it is, there is a right to say it. And there's so many things I completely disagree with. The marches that happen in this country, I wholeheartedly and vehemently and passionately disagree with, but I do agree with their right to say it. Because if I take their right to say what they want to say away from them, then it's only a short step to take my right to say what I want to say away from me. And that concerns me, particularly as a talk show host. Anyway, Frank is in London. Good morning, Frank.
Good morning, Petri. I mean, I find this whole sort of, it seems to me we are on this media blitz. Look, no one is saying that Khomeini, the Iranian leadership was sort of a decent or moral man.
Any more than you could say about the Taliban, right? The same.
Yes, yes. And any more I can say about Netanyahu, the wanted war criminal. A man, let's not forget that he is wanted for committing war crimes during, by the International Court. And so the way I see it seems we're on this media blitz to vilify and to castigate and condemn people we don't deem allies of the United States, especially. Look, he launched to go into a sovereign country and kill their supreme leader, regardless of what you think that person stands for. Look, there are many people in this world who think America stands for trouble and they are immoral and they are terrible and all whatnot. But I would not want any country to go into America and kill their president. It's unacceptable, and it's about time we stop sort of this whole thing about they are the worst people and we are the good people. America is in no fit state to condemn anyone as being the worst people or the worst leadership. Look, in 2003, I went on the streets of London and we were against the attack and the war in Iraq. Our government turned a blind eye to everything we said. They concocted falsehoods. They lied to the public.
Yeah, I mean, it was a million people on that on one of those marches.
I was part of that.
Yeah.
And you know something? Afterwards, the truth came out. We found out it was all based on lies.
It was all lies.
And no one has been held accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, as much as I'm no fan of the Ayatollahs and all whatnot, my fellow Brits, including myself, we've gotten to a stage where we do not want to be a part of this murderous circus, namely Donald Trump and Netanyahu. If they want to fight their wars, let them fight it themselves. But we should remove ourselves from it because I enjoy the fact that I can travel on the underground, I can go on the buses without a fear of any retaliations from any terrorist groups. If we were to get involved in these wars, we are compromising our safety. For what? Just to please Netanyahu? Absolutely not. I mean, Israel's problems is not our problems. It's a sovereign nation. It should fight its own wars.
I mean, it would be the same as you know, going in and trying to take Kim Jong-un, right, in North Korea. Again, a reprehensible regime, certainly not democratic in any way, killing his own people, and already has nuclear weapons. So, you know, I mean, there is a hypocrisy. I can see that very clearly. I mean, the Iranian regime has to fall because it is so disgusting, but there are other regimes that should fall as well for being equally disgusting. And who decides which regimes stand or which regimes fall?
Absolutely.
And so I'm with you on that completely.
Oh yes, and what I find very depressing is we have an American president who basically curtails and seems to, side with Mr. Putin at any given chance.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I agree with that as well. He's definitely supported Putin through this.
Exactly. And you think to yourself, I cannot believe that we have a man who has waged an illegal war on a sovereign country called Ukraine in Europe, and we still kowtow and we still bend backwards to appease him. But then they expect the British public and the American public to side with him on a war. And what makes people very angry, Petra, is that they know for a fact that Iran was not
it wasn't 2 weeks away from nuclear weapons, but it had to be stopped from getting them. But I'm just really nervous about the outcome of all of this, particularly for the Iranian people who I admire greatly. Frank, great call. Thank you very much indeed. I've got to take a break. Back in a sec. It risks inflaming tensions and providing a platform for extremism. David Taylor was amongst the Labour MPs who called for a ban. He said, "We cannot allow hundreds of supporters of Iran's hardline regime to march through London calling for strikes on Israel and death to the West." The march is organised by a charity with a history of support for the Ayatollahs and Islamist terrorism. We've seen open support for terrorist organisations at these demonstrations. These are people who hate Britain. Why should we be okay with them marching on our streets? I mean, I think that anybody who says they hate Britain should be bought a one-way ticket, really. And asked why, if they love this regime so much, they don't go and live under it. I've never understood that. If I didn't like it here, I'd leave, right? Anyway. A message here from Alex says, "Allow marches for pro-Iranian regime, which have tried to attack our country over 20 times, foiled by MI6. It would literally it would literally be like marching for Hitler. These people are deranged. The marches can't be allowed for a despotic regime that just killed 40,000 people in their own country. And that's from Alex in Cardiff. And Sue, who has the most fabulous surname, which I won't read out, says, were Nazi sympathisers allowed to march on our streets, and wasn't Mosley imprisoned? Yes, indeed. Islamists are our enemy and have already plotted 20 or more terror attacks, which have thankfully been foiled. This is not about free speech. It is antagonism and intimidation. That's from Sue. No, they weren't allowed to. They weren't allowed to during the Second World War. The brown shirts were rounded up, and Mosley was imprisoned. Are we at war with Iran? I mean, this is the thing. And that war was about people died for our freedoms, right? And one of those is inherently freedom of speech, whether you like what they're saying or not. And I don't. And I don't support them. And I don't agree with them. But I don't want a world where just because we don't like what somebody's saying, they can't say it. Because that is the Iranian regime, right? That is what we're fighting against at the moment. To ban it, to stop it. Although maybe there's an argument to do it this year. Kevin is in Basingstoke. Good morning, Kevin. How are you? Kevin? Oi, Kev.
Morning. I'm fine, thanks.
Kev, where are you? Right, there you are. Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. How are you? All right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I've got you now. Have you got me?
Oh, hi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Good. What do you think of this?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm great, thank you, yeah.
Is everything all right?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Well, the thing is, I think people should be able to. I think people should be able to protest. As long as they're not doing anything illegal, they should be able to protest. Because there's, I mean, you look at a lot of protests. People are against lots of sort of protests, aren't they? I mean, it's Just Stop Oil. Some people supported it, some people didn't.
Exactly.
The Tommy Robinson rally, some people supported it, some people didn't.
Exactly.
I mean, you always get people that are against Gay Pride March and Notting Hill Carnival. So people, as long as people aren't doing anything legal, I think it should be allowed.
It's an interesting point there about, there are lots of things that I would inherently and do inherently disagree with, right? Against my own moral judgments, against my own, beliefs, all of those things. But I don't have to look at it. I don't have to listen to it, but it has to be allowed to be said. That is where I stand. Although, Kevin, do you think it's different this year, given that there are British lives at risk? I think we've got a problem with Kevin's phone.
Well, don't they always come up with some sort of excuse like that for everything? Oh, don't you?
Yeah. Again, a good point, and I fear that it.
Can you hear me now?
No, it's a very bad line. You keep cutting in and out, but I got the gist of it. You're saying that there's always going to be an excuse if you don't want to hear what somebody's saying, and I agree with that as well. So maybe it has got to go ahead, even though it is abhorrent to us all. But it's an irony, isn't it, that they're supporting a regime that wouldn't give them the right to say that and to do that. Kevin, I think your line was pretty bad. Lovely, I couldn't hear you properly. Just before I go, Angie said I was speaking to a young Iranian girl at my hairdresser's wall place, and she was asked how her family were during this regime. I mean, it's so sad what they're going through there. It really is awful. Angie, thank you for your message. That's it from me. But don't forget, there is the podcast. So please go and just tap on it, at least. Give it a 5-star, even if you don't listen to it. Wherever you get your podcast, just look for Petri. Back tonight at 10. See you then.